Yes, ma'am, we can very well go ahead. Sunidhi, please start.
A very good morning to one and all present here. I, Sunidhi Dureja, the president of Eco Club, Shama Prasad Mukherjee College for Women, University of Delhi, welcomes you all to a talk by the Noise Minister of India, Ms. Sumaira Abdullahi. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our honorable guest, Ms. Sumaira ma'am, our respected principal professor Sadhna Sharma ma'am, our convener Ms. Tripti Anand ma'am, co-convener Professor Meenu Agarwal ma'am, all faculty members, and of course all members of Eco Club. I'm overwhelmed with joy as I announce that we now have a name for our announce the name. I am thankful to our principal Professor Sadhna Sharma ma'am for giving our Eco Club this beautiful and elegant title. Purva, which means soft grass used during yagyas or pujas. The soft grass is a proof of a pollution-free environment. And now I would like to present the logo of Durva, the Eco Club of Shama Prasad Mukherjee College, University of Delhi. Now I would request Ms. Tripti Anand ma'am to address everyone with her kind and wisdom words.
Thank you, Sunidhi. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to this talk on noise pollution by renowned environmentalist, Ms. Sumaira Abdullahi. Ma'am is known as Voice Against Noise. She is behind the campaigns like Horn, Not Okay, Please, and is responsible for establishment of silent zones around hospitals and schools. She works for creating awareness about harmful effects of noise pollution and also for implementation of strict noise laws throughout India through her NGO Awaz Foundation. Ma'am is also the convener of Mitra, Movement Against Intimidation, Threat and Revenge Against Activists. She has received Mother Teresa Memorial Award for Social Justice in 2010 and is an Ashoka Fellow. She is also co-chairman of Asia's oldest and largest environmental NGO, the Bombay Natural History Society. She has also stood up against sand mafia in Mumbai. Ma'am, having a brave heart like you is an honor. And it's an honor that you are addressing today youth of various colleges of University of Delhi. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and to speak to all of you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So I'm always especially happy to speak to people from eco clubs because it shows how engaged young people are with different environmental things that face our world today. We are just before the COP meeting of the United Nations, COP26 of the United Nations from 1st to 12th November, which is going to have a lot of impact on how governments and the world takes up issues. But the UN has also acknowledged that young people today are leading these campaigns. And so I'd like to talk to you not only about climate change and generally environment, which is going to become more and more the topic of the day, but an issue which is less known than many other issues of this kind, which is noise pollution. The United Nations has said in a report called Making Peace for Nature that all these issues are interlinked and interconnected, and they have to be tackled together. So noise pollution as a contributor to climate change is surprisingly as important as any other issue, but much less known. And of course, it's also a major health issue. So I'm just going to try and share this screen. One second. Tell me if you can see it. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So Awaz Foundation, of course, Awaz means noise. I don't have to tell you that, but it also means a voice against injustice of some kind. And noise, in particular, being a health issue, there's a lot of justice issues in noise when people are subjected to it against their will. So Awaz for Action encompasses not only noise, but so many other aspects of environment, all of which have to do with different aspects of the way we live our lives in this world today, whether it's sand mining or noise pollution or climate change or any other air pollution or anything else. So to concentrate today on noise, the WHO has said that it is hearing is as important as sight, and they have come out with an app where which is a free download on your phone. You can download it and you can test your own hearing. They have recommended that children, when they are just born, just as you get your eyes checked, and you know, for example, that if you can't see the school board in school, you're going to be handicapped. And vision is so important. Hearing is equally important, and we don't take it seriously. So the WHO held their first hearing day, World Hearing Day, this year. And at that time, our environment minister, Dr. Harshvardhan, who is himself an ENT surgeon, addressed it and said that India is facing an impending mountain of hearing loss, which is a huge handicap. It's going to handicap everybody already. India is quite behind when it comes to hearing health. And here are some of the reasons. This is 123.2 decibels. This is some years ago at a street festival in Mumbai, 2015. I started measuring noise in 2003 when I filed a petition in the Bombay High Court and asked them to take up the issue of noise pollution and pass orders restricting maximum permissible decibels and also not permitting noise at night so that people could sleep, and in enforcing and demarcating silent zones, which is the areas where people are most sensitive to noise, like hospitals, like courts, and of course, like educational institutions. Because if you can't hear, you can't learn. And this is a problem in many of our schools. We don't take audio and acoustics into account at all. But 123.2 decibel levels is a level at which you can lose hearing at a very short time. Here's, I talked about hearing loss. You can see the India and the areas, some of the areas near India, the Indian subcontinent and some of Malaysia, Indonesia. These areas have the greatest hearing loss in the world. And the reason is that it's completely linked to the noise levels that we are exposed to. So we think that Indians like noise, that we are used to noise, but clearly that's not the case. Look at the numbers there. 109.4 million out of the 430 million people across the world who face disabling hearing loss. You can see in countries which are less industrialized, less urbanized, like Africa and the higher regions, Siberia and all that, the hearing loss is very little. And that shows you how much noise is actually contributing, urbanization is contributing. So some people think or say that urbanization can't be helped, but that's not the case, because we do need to help it. It's a health issue, and we do need to find ways of urbanizing, which is necessary, but without losing our hearing. Impending mountain of hearing loss in India on World Hearing Day, 3rd March 2021. This was the statement of Dr. Harshvardhan, our Union Health Minister. The Voice Against Noise, this is a presentation I made many years ago to the then, at that time, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and tried to tell him that people are complaining about noise. We are all voices against noise. We should all sign a pledge against noise. So he signed the pledge against noise at that time. And thereafter, in 2018, the state government of Maharashtra actually declared a no honking year in 2018 for the whole state, And they came up with campaigns and various things, which was a huge change from when I started working on noise in 2004, when people would laugh at me and say, if you want to take up something, why noise pollution? You know, Indians love noise. This won't be the same country without noise. You're trying to stop our fun. You're trying to kill our fun. And horns are just part of a city. If you can't use horns, the roads will become unsafe. But that's not true, as I'll come to in a bit. People's participation has been crucial to creating awareness about noise. You can see this is a street festival in Mumbai, the Ganpati festival, but it's not just Ganpati festival, it's every single festival that in India is noisy, whether it's Eid-e-Milad, whether it's Ganpati, whether it's Diwali, whether it's anything else. And people have asked me over the years, don't you feel afraid? You're going into the middle of the street with surrounded by so many people and talking of noise levels, which they don't want to hear. But the fact is, you can see that people do want to hear about noise levels because everyone is concerned ultimately with their own health. And people come up to me and ask me, is it too loud? Should we stop? This was clearly demonstrated this year when after years of opposition, the Ganpati Mandal association president approached me last year and said that we have understood, it took some time, but we've understood that what you're saying is correct, it's harmful, and we want to support and cooperate with you. Of course, COVID-19 had a lot to do with reduced festivals for everywhere this year. But in Mumbai, the festival organizers themselves took it up and decided to lead that change. And not only that, but the political parties who have been organizers of these festivals made statements, supported that kind of a change, and some of them who are now in government have come out with statements and with laws and are taking it forward so that festivals become more eco-friendly, not only during COVID, but in future. That has not only stopped in Mumbai the spread of COVID-19 even during the festival season, but has the campaigns which have led up to that, which have lasted from 2004 till now, have created the awareness which has allowed people to internalize that message and make sure that they participate, that they ask for this change, and even those who celebrate to do it. So despite Supreme Court and High Court orders for places like Delhi that firecrackers cause air pollution, that they should not be allowed, these orders were mostly in the breach in Delhi and in most of the country. It's only in Mumbai last year that it was really followed. And that's because of campaigning and awareness. So what are the sources of noise? It's not only loudspeakers and festivals. Traffic is a major source of noise. It's almost as loud as the festivals. It crosses 100 dB in many places. Mumbai at most times crosses 80 dB anyway, whereas the noise rules and the health-based WHO standards, World Health Organization standards, say that exposure to more than 80 or 85 decibels for more than 8 hours a day is very, very harmful to health. But in Mumbai, that's our baseline, and the traffic noise constantly is above that. It's almost 100 dB. So what's the first step? It's to generate data. And that's something I started to do in 2004 when there wasn't any data on noise, and informed the government. So people took this data, even the courts took this data and based their orders on this data. And later on, of course, the government started to monitor noise themselves. They joined hands with me. They did some independent data. They did some with me. We did firecracker testing together. We've done for 15 years and all those other things. But ultimately, it comes down to this, that somebody has to take the lead. And it can be a group of college students who can measure the noise levels around their own area and figure out what's the problem, what they can do. These would be beautiful activities of something like an eco club of a college. It can be an individual, it can be anybody. It's not just traffic from roads. This is traffic from railways. This is Virar station. You can see the trains are so noisy. I'm constantly being told how people get into fights on these trains because they are under stress. But noise could be a very large part of the reason why they're experiencing this stress, because noise causes stress. It releases adrenaline in your brain and it increases your stress level. So noise is not just a health issue where you may lose hearing, impending mountain of hearing loss. It has a number of other health issues which we don't connect with noise and we don't realize. Aviation is another form of transport where noise is very, very important. Some years ago, in 2010 or so, there was a proposal to allow helicopters and helipads atop expensive, exclusive residential private buildings. Now, Mumbai is a city which is very densely packed, and so are many of our Indian cities. If you have helipads atop rooftops, then maybe the people who can actually afford to have those helipads can also afford sound insulation. But people who live in the neighborhood cannot. So I measured noise from these helipads and I presented them to the court. They were over 128 dB. The court ordered that the government should come out with their own readings, which they did. And thereafter, they dropped the proposal of having these helipads. We have enough airports. In Mumbai, we have a series of places where helicopters can land in helipads, which are heliports, which can be accessed even by private people who can park their helicopters there. There's no reason at all to increase noise pollution by having helipads on private buildings and rooftops. That would be really harmful to everybody. The metro line, construction of the metro line is a major reason why noise can increase, particularly in a city like Mumbai. The construction of the metro line itself took noise levels up to 110 dB. 85 is the safe decibel level. Every 10 decibels above 85 doubles the sound pressure on your ear. And above 125 decibels can actually cause immediate pain, and a little bit above that can rupture your eardrums within a few seconds. This noise level going up beyond 110, 15 decibels was continuing day after day through the night, and in some cases was so close to residences that the drill machines actually touched balconies. In one case I saw where they had to demolish the compound wall of a particular house because otherwise they couldn't drill deep enough. And these buildings would vibrate. People would call me and cry, particularly senior citizens, and say how much they were impacted with this. So in the name of upgrading infrastructure, which is of course something I completely support, it's a great thing to do. I don't think you can play with people's health. And when we build world-class infrastructure, it's necessary to have world-class construction alongside, where you take care of the noise levels and pollution levels during construction phase as well. I talked about festivals. You can see how people, the noisiest part of some of these festivals are when these two metal plates, if you can see them, the man in front is banging two metal plates together. And the sound level is absolutely deafening. This happens in the streets where people, old people, young people, the festivals, the processions pass near hospitals, and people can't sleep for days at a time. So people sometimes say, well, it's only a few days, it's only 10 days. But 10 days of this kind of noise level of 123 and beyond is certainly enough to create very, very serious health problems, including death to people who may already face serious illness. So if you have an old person or an ill person or a very young child in your home, or a pregnant woman whose child could lose hearing because of this kind of noise, you need to be aware that maybe your fun is not fun for somebody else. And in fact, maybe your fun is actually harming your own body too, because of the vibrations which go through your body, run through your body. When you bang these kind of instruments together, these vibrations go through your body and affect yourself first. Firecrackers are some of the loudest form of celebration of unavoidable, of avoidable noise pollution that we have, you can see that everybody, even if we do, while doing the testing, people just are covering their ears because it's really too much. This level of noise, when we started measuring over 140 dB for a single atom bomb at a time, can rupture your eardrum in seconds. And because we don't make those connections, and children and infants are most susceptible to that. Because we don't make these connections, we force children who are very often crying and don't want to participate to go there, and we tell them that it is brave of them to do this. It shows that they are really engaged. But which mother, when she is told that she is handicapping her child for life, is going to want to do this if they know what they're doing? Religious places. So again, this is something that is often heard, that somebody else has to stop before I stop, before you stop. You stop, then I will stop. Pehle aap. But the thing is that noise pollution affects you first because the person making the noise is closest to the sound. And therefore, it's not true to say that someone else should stop. In fact, asking someone else to stop first, you continue to harm yourself, not only from the noise that you yourself are making, which is harming you, but from the noise which the other person won't stop because he wants you to stop first. So I think noise is a health issue, it's a civic issue, it's a very serious issue, and this is not something to play these kind of divisive games over, that someone else has to stop first. Noise is a health issue, and a religious place is as responsible for creating hearing loss as any other form of noise. These are the global standards. You can see the cities of Mumbai are up there. This is some years ago. Today, Mumbai is a bit quieter. I think Delhi might have overtaken it. But you can see the three Indian cities which are up there among the top 5: Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi. No one is surprised. But actually, I think some of the other Indian cities may have even overtaken, because there's Bangalore, there's Hyderabad, there are other cities which have overtaken or are fast catching up in terms of urbanization. In 2000, the parliament deliberated the new noise rules before they came up with the noise pollution rules. They were based on World Health Organization standards, which said that you should not be exposed to more than 80 dB for 8 hours a day. These are the noise rules. You can see in silent zones, they should not exceed 45 dB. In residential areas, they should not exceed 55 dB. And this is in the daytime. In the nighttime, the recommendation is 10 decibel lower. As I said, these rules are based on World Health Organization recommendations way back in 2009. But since then, the World Health Organization has reduced the recommendation and said even these levels are unsafe, whereas Indian cities have continuously increased their decibel levels. People say that these levels are impracticable for Indian cities. But I say that if you drink unhealthy water or if you're breathing unhealthy air, people don't say that the standards are impractical. They try and figure out how to get the actual water quality down so that you don't poison yourself with water. The courts have played a very important role. I mentioned that in 2003, I filed public interest litigation. By the time this litigation was finally heard in 2016, 13 years later, there were 10 petitions which were tagged along, and they tackled all kinds of different aspects of noise. The hearings have gone up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld that noise is a the ability to shut out noise, unwanted noise, is a constitutional right to life under the Indian Constitution, because noise is such a serious health issue that it affects a person's right to life. These are the early noise readings that I took between 2003 and 4. We did the first seminar on noise pollution in 2004. It was attended for the first time by the Director General of Police, the secretaries of the government, and various other people. No one in those days had really heard of noise. But one of the secretaries said that he was particularly keen to come because he had been exposed to a bomb blast in Kabul. And in that 1 second or a few seconds of exposure, He had lost hearing for life, and he showed me the hearing aids that he was wearing. So this is the conference. It was called Towards Noise-Free Mumbai in 2004. We did the first No Horn Day partnering with the Mumbai police in 2008, after they had been telling us for years that we had been wasting their time on useless issues like noise pollution. But we had a DCP traffic called Harish Baijal, who again said that he was very, very disturbed by noise and he understood. And we did this together. It was the first No Horn Day in India. It's been followed subsequently by many No Horn Days across the country, including some in Delhi. But during this No Horn Day, I presented this award to the police for understanding what noise pollution is and starting to fine people for honking unnecessarily. The government of Maharashtra also amended their development control rules and said that all flyovers, new flyovers in the city, would install noise barriers. I measured noise in the very first noise barrier, which was at BKC, and I found that there was a drop of more than 12, 13 decibel levels. And that I spoke to people who lived behind the barriers, and they were very, very happy, because they said that earlier, when they couldn't even watch TV or have a conversation in their homes, now they had peace and quiet at last. The Indian Medical Association joined me in about 2014, and this is a meeting we had in Delhi in 2016, where we all, since then, we've done a number of campaigns together in Delhi and in numerous other cities of India. Training the police. I mentioned how the police didn't know anything about noise to start with. They didn't know what a decibel meter was. They didn't know how to measure noise. They didn't know anything. So this is one of the early sessions training police officers. But I also have a session coming up now training police constables, because they are the ones who are going to stand on the road. It's the constables who are forced to be exposed to noise in the course of their duty. We did hearing tests of some of these traffic constables some years ago and found that a significant amount of them, 70% and more, had significant hearing loss. So we keep saying they don't do their duty, we're disturbed by noise, but we are the ones who are forcing them to stand on the road and listen to these horns constantly going, who are forcing them to accompany our processions, our celebrations, our festivals, and be exposed to this noise. I spoke to some of these traffic policemen who said, even when we go home, we can't sleep because the noise just rings in our ears constantly. So Get Well Soon Mumbai was an initiative that we did. We partnered with the Mumbai police as well as with the Indian Medical Association to control noise pollution and create awareness in India, which is one of the noisiest countries in the world. Children are very, very important because they are the ones who are able to understand these issues. My generation of people find it very hard to understand. They have done things in a particular way, which they think is the correct way. They have brought us to this point, and it's the children who will now have to educate them. That has happened in the firecracker campaigns when children across the board have come forward and told their parents, we don't want to use firecrackers. And that's what's made the difference, because the children say that they would rather donate money to maybe to needy people, to other needy children. And they are very concerned too about child labor. And they have become more aware about air pollution, about noise pollution, about climate change. So the education goes both ways. My generation educates in some ways, but I think it's the children who are going to innovate those things and create the awareness which is going to make a difference elsewhere. It's also senior citizens who are very, very impacted by noise. So this is a campaign I did with senior citizens who, so again, it works up, down, up, anyway, everyone educates whoever they can. The police, this is the Horn Flu campaign. This is the Mumbai Police Commissioner, Joint Commissioner of Traffic and of Crime. All of us, the Indian Medical Association, my lawyer and me. So all of us releasing this together because it's a multidisciplinary thing. I don't think that climate change or environment or noise or air pollution is restricted to people who think they are concerned with environment. It goes across the board because everybody is concerned whether they know it or not. So where, even if you decide that you're not an environmentalist, you become an engineer, you are concerned with finding the solutions. And if you become an, you go into, say, marketing or advertising or awareness or NGO, you are still concerned with creating awareness by creating awareness messages. If you're a lawyer, you have a very important role to play in policy change, a politician, I mean, whoever you may be. The Times of India, the press and media have played a very, very crucial role in creating awareness, obviously, by writing about it, by reporting on all these things. Avas Foundation partnered with the Times of India in a 3-month campaign. It was a national campaign, but in India, in Mumbai, we did a story almost every second day for 3 months. And finally, we did a whole campaign on Independence Day. Let's declare independence from honking. And there were hoardings put up all across the city. It really, really created a lot of awareness. There was an on-ground campaign, there was everything. In 2018, I mentioned that the state government of Maharashtra declared a no honking day. We did a campaign called Horn Vrat. We took a rickshaw and we put 250 horns, which were disabled, old horns, blow horns, on the rickshaw, and we drove it around the city with the message, Mumbai honks 18 million times an hour. This is the Secretary Transport standing next to me. Then there's the police, the transport department, the RTOs, but even more important than any of us, right there is the, I don't know how to point him out, but next to the police is the transport commissioner. Then there is the president of the rickshaw unions, Varghese Kurian, who volunteered their drivers for several months to drive this rickshaw and create awareness, because they said that people used to tell me that noise is an elite subject and you are just worried about noise, whereas actually Indians enjoy noise. But the rickshaw drivers said that we are forced to be in this open car all the time in the course of our duty. And just like traffic policemen, we suffer because we can't cut out the noise. And to be heard and move through traffic, sometimes we are forced to blow the horn too, because we can't be heard through the noise otherwise. So it's not a one rickshaw driver or one person or somebody telling us, it's the people, the drivers who need to be involved. This is noise levels from traffic during lockdown. You can see this is the early part of lockdown. You can see how low it went, 41.7 decibels. I said that the traffic in Mumbai is constantly above 80, 85 decibels. When the traffic stopped, the noise levels went down. And that's when people started hearing birds and they started hearing wildlife, maybe for the first time ever in a city like Mumbai or Delhi or anywhere else, because they could not go out. Noise from construction and religious places continued throughout lockdown, and these were the exceptions. They were felt even louder, and they created a lot of problems, but they also created a lot of awareness in citizens as to the difference between a quiet city and an extremely noisy one. The citizens' noise map is something which any of us can participate in. I was donated a noise meter many years ago and I've been using it, but with technology changes, anybody can download a free app on their phone and measure the noise around them. People ask me, why did you take up this issue when everybody said it's a non-issue, you shouldn't do it? But I feel that it's the difficult challenges which are worthwhile. Anybody can take up an issue which everybody else is already working on. But if you see something happening and no one's working on it, then chances are there's something there and you can reach somewhere. Did I think at in 2003, when I took that meter in my hand and I started going around the city measuring noise, and everybody told me, I don't know what you're doing, wasting time, making yourself a laughing stock, talking of things which no one can understand. I never thought that noise pollution will become recognized, even in my local circles, never mind nationally and internationally. So check your hearing. It's in your hands. Be aware what kind of noise levels you're being exposed to. Be aware that these exposures are harmful to yourself, to your family, to your neighbors. to everyone around you, and that they will impact your career. Because if you go abroad and you can't hear people talk much softer there, they are not used to shouting over deafening background decibel levels, that it will impact your career. Even if you stay here and you have to shout and you can't hear when people are shouting, because as your noise level exposure goes up, your need for louder volume goes up too. So restrict your television levels, restrict the headphones that you wear, which you keep turning up because you don't understand that you're trying to block out background noise by turning up decibel levels in your headphones, but which sound is going directly into your ears and killing those tiny hair cells, which are what your ear uses to hear with, and that those hair cells will not grow back, that it's permanent over a long period of time. Restrict all those things and make sure you maintain your hearing health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Your efforts and words will surely bring a change in reduction of noise pollution. And we as an Eco Club will surely engage in activities related to reduction of noise pollution. Thank you for this presentation and your words.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now I would request our audience, if you have any queries or questions, you may raise your hand and then maybe you can unmute yourself to ask queries.
Maybe Tanish, there's someone trying to ask a question. Could you unmute her, Tanish?
Tanishka, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Ma'am, I want to ask a question. What type of mechanism will be efficient and cost effective in order to reduce pollution generated from power looms?
From what?
Power looms, ma'am.
Power looms. Well, first of all, I think power looms, are an issue because a lot of these things are still using very, very old technology. And we don't want to upgrade them since they're small scale industries. They're very diversified in where they are, how they are managed and used. And we don't have the will or the ability, the infrastructure from our government to actually tackle these on a individualized basis. And it's not only power looms, it is every small scale industry which is facing this, because whether you take bakeries which still burn coal and firewood, or you take power looms which are still using old technology, or you take any other thing, or you take garbage burning which is still happening on street side. The basic problem is we don't have the will to implement, and particularly not in an area where to upgrade equipment and to upgrade the emission norms to the technology to meet emission norms is expensive. So we don't want to give subsidies or in any way make sure that these kind of small scale industries can do that. We want them to do it without giving them any incentives. So it's a catch-22 situation. And I really think that it's people like us that who are able to speak, who have to tackle this from both ends, both educating the people in the power looms and other small scale industries as to the benefits to themselves of actually controlling emission norms. But we also have to recognize that maybe they are unable to do it to some extent because they don't have the means. So we have to figure out the financial models which will allow them to do this. This is true of stubble burning. When we want farmers to stop stubble burning, it's true of power looms. It's true of, as I mentioned, bakeries. It's true of every single small scale industry that exists, that we need incentives and we need systems which work. It's not enough to keep telling people do this or do that. They have imperatives of their own. And so it's a closed loop. I don't have any easy answers to that as to how to do it. But I think the very first thing is to generate the will to do it. And again, that comes with creating awareness of the authorities that their electorate, their voter base, the young people who are uh, part of it want this. It's the young people who are innovating solutions, engineering solutions, financial models, all kinds of models. I don't know if that answers the question.
Chup raho.
And that is okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much. There's another student, Ashadeep. Can we have? Yeah, could you-
Hello, good morning, ma'am. I would like to know what, as an individual, I can do to stop this noise pollution as my part of contribution to this campaign. I would like to know.
Well, the very first thing is to make sure that you and your friends and your family don't create noise pollution from any source. That's the very first step, because each of us starts with ourselves. The second step is, if that somebody else does, then you initially try and explain to them why they should not be doing it. But you should also be aware of the laws. You should be able to download that noise meter that I talked about. It's a free download. Just go to any smartphone and download it. It will give you a not completely accurate reading, but good enough so that you know whether or not the level is safe. You need to be aware of the laws of how to complain. There was a very nice incident that happened to me. These three young boys, 9, 10, and 11 years old, called me out of the blue one day and came and met me. They were from a chawl in Mumbai. And they said that one of them said that his father had been asking him to attend a street festival. And he said, I don't want to go. But the father insisted. And he said, well, I'll go on condition that you loan me your phone. So he borrowed his father's phone, downloaded the app which he had read about in the paper, measured the noise, kept a table in the same format that I had been. And then he was asked, he involved his other friends. They actually took trucks and went all over the city and measured noise in the same way I had been doing. And convinced their own parents and family that they should stop participating in anything very noisy, and then came to me and said, now how to take it further, which is the same question you're asking me. And I'm saying that's the most wonderful first step you can take, because the police respond to this. Ultimately, no individual can stop noise. It would be dangerous. It's the police who have to set up the systems, or it's the government which has to set up the systems. But they respond when people come and make complaints. And that's the method I followed too, because when people started complaining to me and I didn't know what to do, I told them to call the police. When the police got hundreds of calls, they set up the systems which work beautifully in Mumbai today. Today, if you use a loudspeaker after 10 p.m. and someone complains, the police will be there within 5 minutes. And it happens consistently, day after day after day. Everybody knows that after 10 p.m. you can't make noise. So that's how it goes. Every small step matters.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, two of my friends are in police, so how can I take their help to start this, like in Hyderabad?
Talk to them, explain to them. This you on my website, this whole presentation is there already. You can explain to them using the presentation as to why it's a health issue. In fact, there are more slides on that explaining the medical aspects, and and also the fact that police are most impacted. They are the ones, especially traffic police, and that should, the United Nations has said that young people are leading the fight against environmental degradation today. And that's because a young girl in Sweden, Greta Thunberg, stood up one day and said, I won't go to school because my future is being jeopardized by these old men, basically old people, but especially men, who are ruining the world in such a manner that it will not be livable for us. So when the UN can acknowledge that young people are leading climate change today, ahead of their conference, the COP26, then I think young people's voices are more and more important. There are many young people in India speaking up, and I would encourage you to go and talk to them and speak up, whether they listen or not. Speak up, because that's what's going to count. And maybe more and more young people will join you in speaking up and reach a point where the older people can't ignore you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, now Manu. Could someone unmute Manu, please? I think she wants to ask a question.
Yes, ma'am. Very good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Ma'am, you answered my question also, but I would still like to share with you that in my neighborhood, there's always a disturbing and unwanted noise of air conditioner due to the misfunctioning of it. But they are not ready to repair it. We try to communicate, but they are not cooperating. Even there is a construction going on from many days, and they are not tackling this issue. They are making this noise pollution from a long time. And ma'am, what steps can we take as an individual to stop this air conditioning? And they are not ready to repair it as well. So what steps can we take?
Well, this happened to someone in Mumbai. Of course, you're not in Mumbai, you're in Delhi. So it might be, I'm not quite sure how,
Yes, ma'am.
but it happened to someone in Mumbai who called me, and during lockdown, she said she had a very old mother, and the mother was getting really sick because of the noise of an air conditioner. And this is not the first time. The first time it happened, I came across this was more than 10 years ago. It was at a major Mumbai hospital where the air conditioners were disturbing residents of the area. So basically, I mean, of course, the first step is to try and talk to people, but often they don't listen. So then you have to know how to complain. And in Mumbai, at least the Mumbai police have a Twitter account where you can download this free app that I talked about, take photographs and put it on their Twitter account. I'm pretty sure the Delhi police do have a Twitter account too. And some police around in the countries, I think maybe Hyderabad for one, have WhatsApp groups, or they have the facility of making WhatsApp complaints. But find out what the system is in your neighborhood. I would recommend something which goes in writing rather than a telephonic complaint, simply because you will always have the record. So download the app, measure the noise, take a photograph of the noise, tweet or WhatsApp or whatever. Tweet is best because it's public. If you can, tweet them, enclose the screenshot of the decibel level and ask them to take action. Keep doing it. When you've got a number of complaints, say maybe 10 complaints or whatever in your hand, compile them in a proper way, date, time, what action the police took, whether the decibel level reduced, whatever it is. Take a reading of the background level when the AC is shut off so that you can compare. Otherwise, they will say, this is from traffic, this is not from our AC. So take that background reading to make the comparison. This is the difference in noise level, and keep asking them to make a complaint. Once you have compiled it, then go and meet a senior officer. Please don't waste time at local police station levels. Not only will you get frustrated and nothing will happen, but they will go and they very often it happens that they tip off the person, and then you feel that this didn't go well. Go and meet a senior officer, not less than DCP. Most DCPs and senior officers have a particular day of the week when you can just walk into their office and meet them. Go in a group or go alone, go however, and follow up from there. You will be surprised how quickly you will get action. But the only thing is, you can't expect that you will make one complaint or you will make a phone call and it's going to stop. You have to be prepared to follow through. They will take action because there is a Delhi High Court order, for example, for generators. I'm not sure it covers ACs, but it's a similar principle. A generator, if it makes too much noise, has to be enclosed, be in an enclosed space. And most of the time with these ACs, it's a simple matter of fixing it. His decision not to spend money in fixing his AC cannot impact your health. And there are court orders to support you in that. I mean, if you want to, contact me later separately, I'll guide you through the process. But this is the process.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I will definitely do that because the communication is not working here. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure, happy to help. And not only you, but anyone else.
Thank you, everyone. Now I would request Dr. Sonia Bhatnagar sir to please come forward and express a vote of thanks.
Sunidhi, do share the feedback form also.
Yes,
Yes, Sunidhi.
thank you very much, ma'am. It is very well said by you that we should try to stop ourselves first before we ask others to stop. So the noise has become so much of integral part of our life that we often don't feel offended when we get exposed to it. So I would like to thank our speaker, Ms. Sumaira Abdulali, Honorable Minister of Noise, for giving us a depth knowledge about noise. Your insight into the subject, ma'am, has enriched our students some of the basic facts about noise pollution. I would also like to thank our principal, ma'am, Professor Sadhna Sharma, ma'am, for always supporting us and giving us the opportunity to explore. I would also like to thank our convener, Ms. Tripti Anand ma'am, for getting this idea and connecting us with our speaker of the day. It is her idea only. She keep on trying, so that we can connect to you, ma'am. I would also like to thank our co-convener, Professor Meenu Agarwal, ma'am, for her constant encouragement and motivation toward the right path. I would also like to thank my colleague, Dr. Nazia Talat, Dr. Sivesh Sherwal, Dr. Sayogita Singh for their support. Thanks to our technical staff, Mr. Sarabjit sir and Johnny for connecting us on Zoom and YouTube link. Our students, president, vice president, and the executive team of Eco Club for being the backbone of our Eco Club. And I would also like to thank our students who are there on the Zoom and on YouTube, who are always there with us in whatever things we want to do. And at the end, I would like to thank Ms. Sumaira Abdulali ma'am for sparing your valuable time for us. And I personally feel, ma'am, you are doing a right work. You are on the right path, and you are helping us get rid of this noise. We are so used to the noise. Even you can hear at the background of my uh, workplace that I have a lot of work construction going on around me. So regularly we are getting interrupted by that. So it is so we are so used to that we don't often feel offended. So we need to be aware. We need to grill ourselves if we really want to get over it of it. Thank you, ma'am, for connecting with us. And definitely in the future also, we would like to hear much from you. And definitely, ma'am, a lot of things are there with around us. People are aware. Whenever we talk to them, people are aware. A lot of children, they have stopped using crackers. They are also aware, but still more need to be done so that we can be on the right path. And hats off to you, ma'am. You are doing very good work for our society, for yourself, and I feel that it must be giving a lot of happiness to you. So thank you very much for being connecting to us.
Thank you. It gives me happiness when young people,
Sure.
take it up and do something. So please feel free to contact me. I'm on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Insta. I'm not very good at, but I'm trying. LinkedIn. And ask me if you need help with anything. I'm here.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Sunidhi, can we have a few photographs, please? I
Yes, ma'am.
request all the teachers and the executive team to switch on the cameras so that, and ma'am, of course, so that we can have a few pics.
Do share the YouTube link with me if you can. I'll share it on my own website as well.
Ma'am, we'll do that. Can we have some participants also switching on their cameras, if possible? Thank you so much.
Done, ma'am.
Done. Thank you. Thank you, Sumaira ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you to you and all the students and the principal and everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.